All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're talking about something that's literally all around us, something that makes our entire world work: resources. We're going to dig into what they are, why they're so important, and how a country like India manages its incredible natural wealth.
So let me ask you a question. Think about your phone, the food you ate for lunch, and maybe the bus or car you took today. They seem totally different, right? But believe it or not, they all have one thing in common. Every single one of them comes from resources, things taken from our environment and transformed to make our lives better.
So what even is a resource? It's not just random stuff lying around. The official definition says it's anything from our environment that helps us out. But, and this is the important part, it has to meet three key conditions. One, it has to be technologically accessible, meaning we actually have the tools to get to it. Two, it's got to be economically feasible, so it can't cost a fortune to get. And three, it needs to be culturally acceptable. Our society has to be cool with using it. It's a mix of nature, tech, money, and culture all rolled into one.
Now, to make sense of all this, we've broken it down into 6 parts. We'll start with the basics of what resources are, then look at the huge problems we're facing. After that, we'll talk about the solution, sustainability, before zooming in on India's land and soil. And finally, we'll talk about where you come in. Sound good?
Okay, Section 1. Everything is a resource. I want you to think of our planet as this gigantic supermarket. Everything we could ever need is right there on the shelves. We just have to know how to find it and what to do with it.
Now, here's a super important point. Resources aren't just free gifts from nature. A chunk of iron ore is really just a rock until we get involved. We use technology and build things like mines and factories to turn that rock into the steel that makes our cars and buildings. So you see, humans are the magic ingredient that turns plain old material into a valuable resource.
So, how do we organize this massive natural supermarket? Well, experts use 4 main categories to sort everything out. First, by origin. Is it biotic, meaning it comes from living things like plants and animals, or abiotic, from non-living things like rocks and water? Then, by exhaustibility. Is it renewable, like sunshine that we'll never run out of, or non-renewable, like coal that's gone once we use it? The third is ownership. Who does it belong to? An individual person, a whole community, a nation, or maybe even everyone, like the resources in the deep ocean. And finally, by its status of development. Is it a potential resource we know about but aren't using yet? Is it developed and already in use? Is it part of a stock that we can't use with today's tech? Or is it a reserve, which is the part of the stock we can actually get to right now? This table breaks it all down nicely.
And all of this brings us to a pretty serious topic in Section 2. Our planet is in trouble. For way too long, we've treated resources like they were infinite and free for the taking. But using them without thinking has created some major problems.
This reckless use has led to 3 massive issues. First, we're burning through resources to satisfy the greed of just a few people, not to meet the needs of everyone. Second, this means resources and wealth end up in the hands of a small group, creating this huge gap between the rich and the poor. And third, this overexploitation is causing global crises. Think global warming, pollution, you name it.
You know, Mahatma Gandhi said it perfectly a long time ago. He saw that the planet gives us enough for what everybody needs, but it can never satisfy everybody's greed. He was a big believer in a more sustainable way of life, and his words are more relevant today than ever before.
But it's not all doom and gloom. There is a path forward. Let's get into Section 3 and talk about the SMART plan, sustainability. This is really the answer to the mess we're in.
Sustainable development is such a powerful idea. Put simply, it just means that we should meet our own needs today without making it impossible for our kids and grandkids to meet their needs tomorrow. It's all about finding a balance so that progress doesn't mean destroying our planet.
And check this out. This isn't some new trendy idea. The world started talking about this seriously way back in 1968. The actual term, sustainable development, was officially introduced in 1987. And then, in 1992, you had the huge Rio Earth Summit, where over 100 world leaders came together to create a global plan for a better future.
So how does a massive country like India actually put this into practice? Well, there's a clear 3-step plan. First, you identify what you've got by surveying and mapping everything out. Second, you plan how you're going to develop it, using the right tech and skills. And third, you match those resource plans with the country's bigger development goals. It's kind of like managing your allowance. First, you see how much you have, then you plan how to spend it to get what you want.
Okay, let's get down to earth, literally. In Section 4, we're diving into India's most basic and vital resource, its land. This is like a report card for what our country's ground actually looks like.
This chart gives us a fantastic snapshot. A huge chunk, about 43% of India's land, is plains, which is perfect for farming and building cities. Then you have mountains making up 30%, and they're essential for our rivers and natural beauty. The last 27% is plateaus, and that's where we find tons of minerals, fuels, and forests. Every single part has a crucial job.
Now, this is where it gets really interesting. This chart compares how we used our land over almost 60 years. And get this, even with a massive boom in population and development, the total amount of land used for farming and for forests has barely changed at all. What does that tell you? It means we're not making new farmland or new forests. We're just putting an incredible amount of pressure on the land we already have.
So why exactly is our land so stressed out? Well, it depends on where you look. In states like Jharkhand and Odisha, it's mining that causes deforestation. Head over to Gujarat and Rajasthan, and a big problem is overgrazing by cattle. In Punjab and Haryana, over-irrigation is making the soil salty. And pretty much everywhere, you have industrial pollution and wastelands adding to the problem. All right, let's peel back another layer in Section 5 and talk about the very skin of our Earth, soil. It's a living thing, a renewable resource that takes millions of years just to form a few centimeters. It's precious stuff. One of the most important soils in India is alluvial soil, which covers the huge northern plains. But not all alluvial soil is created equal. You have a showdown between Khadar, the new stuff, and Bangar, the old stuff. Khadar is found in floodplains. It's got fine particles, and it's super fertile. Bangar is older, found further from the river, and it's a bit less fertile and more pebbly. And India has an amazing variety of soils. You've got black soil, which is perfect for growing cotton. There's red and yellow soil in areas with less rain. Laterite soil, which you find in places with heavy rain, is great for tea and coffee. Then there's the sandy, arid soil out in the desert, and of course, forest soil up in the mountains. Each one is unique.
But our soil is fragile. It can get washed away by water or blown away by the wind. But the good news is we have some really clever, time-tested solutions. Things like contour plowing, where you farm along the curves of a slope to slow down water. Or terrace farming, where you cut steps into hills. And planting rows of trees as shelter belts to block the wind. These are simple but incredibly powerful ways to save our soil.
And that brings us to our final and maybe most important section, your turn to act. After learning all of this, what does it actually mean for you and me? It's time to become a resource hero.
If there's one thing you take away from all this, let it be this. Our natural resources are not infinite. We don't have an endless supply. That means smart planning, conservation, and sustainable development aren't just nice ideas. They are absolutely essential for our survival and for the future of everyone who comes after us. So, we'll leave you with this final thought. The future isn't just something that happens to us. It's something we build with the choices we make every single day. So my question for you is, now that you know all this, what is one resource, just one, that you will use more wisely starting today? Thanks for watching.